Alright guys, Radio Man here, and normally my content's about CB, but I wanted to show some other things that I work on. I do have interest in shortwave and amateur radio, but there's just plenty of that content out there, so I tend to focus more on CB, and I also like collecting some of the more oddities of radio communications, and what these are Marine RDF receivers. They were used on boats prior to GPS, and there was a network of beacons that were of known locations that broadcast Morse code, and if you were at sea, you would use this, or in the ocean, to roughly determine your location. They had a compass rose on the top of them that you would orient, which I've already done, based on, you'd use your compass, and so that as I'm standing over this, as you can see, north is approximately heading that direction, that's south, and approximately you got east and west, which would be down here. The way these worked is they had a ferrite bar antenna that would unplug, and these ferrite bar antennas have a very sharp null. Obviously the signal is the strongest on this side. At the ends there's a null, and the way these companies, these didn't work perfectly, but there was a sense antenna, and it kind of worked like diversity, so that ideally, hopefully, you got your deepest null here, so it would use this omni antenna and this, and hopefully, if you really had no idea, like for example, if you're in the Gulf of Maine, you should know roughly to the north and the west, you should have a series of beacons along the northeastern coast. I guess if you didn't, I guess you're really out of luck, but you're going to get two nulls on the end of here. And some of these came in different flavors, like this one happens to receive part of the amateur radio 160-80 meter band. The beacon band, which is largely dead, or excuse me, that's broadcast, so AM broadcast, beacon band. Some of these received like VHF public safety, like this RAGEF here. This would receive the amateur radio 2 meter band, public safety. The Marine band, which would cover, like I said, 160 to 80 meters. They would pick up AM single sideband. They did a pretty good job. I think they still use this technology in airplanes, obviously more updated and automated than this. I think it may be slowly being phased out by the FAA. They ran on, I'll show you here, just some, here, just tip it up, some C batteries. These work surprisingly well. Like I said, I've used the compass here. I've oriented them, the compass rose, so that I know roughly south is. So the idea is that if you didn't know your location, you could take a reverse bearing, if you got up to 3 beacons, and you went 1, 2, 3, and you intersected those points on your map. So you'd get your bearings, you get 1, 2, and 3, maybe even ideally, you try to spread them out. You would intersect those lines, those bearings back, and I've actually done this. The only way these are, as a hobbyist, use the broadcast band, which you can see I'm tuned to 970, which is a country station out of Portland, and I happen to know for a fact it's roughly in the direction of my tower. So if you got 3 radio stations, you could roughly plot your point on a map. You could also use these to find the direction of a transmitter. Like I said, these were used on boats to roughly plot your location, or I guess if you were lost, to get yourself to shore. If you were coming out of a port near one of these beacons you could use that to get your direction of travel. So I'll show you how these work here. So this one is, like I said, it's already on 970. It's drifted a little bit. Just tune it up a little bit there to 970. So as you can see here, if I turn this ferrite bar broadside, it's coming in pretty good. And if I start to tune, see how it just dipped like that? If we happen to look up here, you can see we're roughly pointed at about 190 degrees. You can fool with the gain level and try to fine tune that, but I do happen to know for a fact that this transmitter is approximately almost 180 degrees due south of me. So you would mess with this gain level to really see it comes in nice like that because you're broadside. There it goes. And it's still coming up to about 190 degrees, which is approximately. So that, and I will show you the sense antenna. See what I'm saying? I don't think this was ever perfect, but that's why. So let me turn this down. So as a hobbyist, what could you do with these? I mean, you know, something piece of history. You could use these to track down power line noise. Granted, it's you know, pretty portable. It runs on batteries. The receivers are actually pretty decent on these since these were navigational aids. You could hunt down power line interference or DF interference with one of these because these ferrite bars are very good at that. Like I said, this is DF. That's just RF gain. So this one here, same thing. Let me just turn up the volume. So let me just make sure. Let me peek the station here. So there's the station there, and as you can see I broadsided it because I know it's roughly at 180 degrees. The meter's up here, so I'll show you here. And this is a little loose, it shouldn't be moving. See how that just nulled right out? Let me just try to do this here. Yeah, this moved a little bit. So let me see if I can do this one. Let me pause it. It's just this is a little loose and it's hard to do one-handed. But as you can see, it's getting about the same as this one. About 100, somewhere between 180 and 190 degrees. Now, you may be like, well, it's not perfect. But if you were able to achieve this 3 times on different radio stations, you didn't know your location, you're going to know roughly where you are and which direction you need to travel to get back to port. So, and I'll tune this back. I'll broadside it to the station. You'll watch that come right back. So you can see that came right back. I had to replace the meter on this. So these work pretty good. Like I said, they make versions that actually receive the Citizens band. I don't own one. This one does. This one's a little different. It does the ham 2 meter band, does the weather band. So anyways, hopefully I don't have problems with that with the radio station there in the background. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. So you could just use them like a regular radio. I have them on DF. This is if you're going to use sideband. This is just your RF gain knob, so if the station's really strong, you're going to pad down the receiver so that you get good meter action. And you could put 2 crystals in them, I guess, for whatever. But anyways, I wanted to show you guys. These are kind of neat. I just like preserving some of these weird oddities. And they still have a use for the radio hobbyists. Like I said, you could track down interference with these. Like if you ever had a bad power pole, you could track that down, or like I said, you kind of do what I did was, you could actually try them and see if you can roughly plot your location from taking a reverse bearing. So anyways, it's Radio Man, and here's my little video on the Marine RDF. I'll do a few more things like this with some oddities of things I have, try to keep it radio related. Thanks a lot.